Today, ladies and gentlemen, on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast is my guest, Bryan Falchuk, and his new book, which is a follow-up to Do a Day, which is the 50, 75, 100 solution. Build better relationships. Make your toughest relationships better. Now, this wasn't so much as an interview as it was a conversation. So stay tuned for Bryan Falchuk and the 50, 75, 100 solution. Build better relationships.
Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your friend. If you don't know me, you should. Today I have a returning guest, as I said in the pre-intro. My friend, my man, I admire this guy. For one, he can grow the best beard that I could never grow, and his name is Bryan Falchuk.
Wow. I've never had that intro before, and I almost shaved this morning. So now I'm feeling like, all right, my wife was wrong. I should keep it.
You should, man. Do you know how people like me, I can grow a goatee that will...
I've seen your goatee. It's nice.
But the rest of it is like someone put glue on my face and I ran across a fan that had grass on it.
That's a visual.
Yes.
That is it. Hey, I got a question for you, Emmett. If this is my second time, does that make me, like, am I worth $2 billion now? I was trying to reflect on how to.
Actually,
it's not really about the money, but maybe.
It's not the money. Yeah. So you've leveled up to trillionaire.
I was gonna say if I'm a multi-billionaire, but I'll take trillions.
You'll take trillionaire.
Right, yeah.
Because you got to think about it. Just in the cell count of what makes you is at least 1 trillion cells. But that's not the constitution of you, because we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, and that physical constitution gives us a number. We are infinite on the inside, but on this plane, we got some finite counts going on inside of us. Mm-hmm. So
limitations.
You've gone from Do a Day.
Yep.
And you're venturing out. You know, Do a Day came out of your relationship.
Yeah. Do a Day was my relationship with myself, really.
Right.
And I'm not done with that, but now I'm ready to focus on my relationship with others. Like, I feel like my place with myself is strong. I'm coming up on 10 years of doing a day.
Really?
And yeah. So I just had my 41st birthday. I started this when I was 33, so I'm at year 8. And my 33rd birthday was like, that's not when Do a Day started, but that was like my goal date to get my health under control. And so it's like I'm heading towards that first decade with this, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm on that path. I will continue to grow and learn, but now I can start to work on the places outside of me where I've had a lot more struggle.
I'm going to go deep. I'm going to go deep on you here now.
Please. Yeah, so I need that.
You started your transformation in what I call the Jesus year, which is 33.
Yeah. And I'm Jewish, so what's that about? It's a whole other conversation. But it's my wife's Catholic, so it's okay. We'll go with that. Yeah.
Awkward moment.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it wasn't. You know me. It's hard to get me like that. But you're 33. You know, you're 33 levels of your spine. 33 is a divine number. 33 degrees of masonry. 3 plus 3 is 6. That's one of those numbers that Tesla talked about.
Yeah.
And now you bring the Trinity back in. Because I was looking at this, cool guy in a suit on a TED Talk, and he said, can 3 simple numbers rescue troubled relationships?
Yeah.
So what's with the 3s in relationships?
Until you said that, I didn't know. Like I didn't even realize it. But yeah, all right. There's something coming together around all this.
I go deep on you every time.
I should just have you interpret me. more often, because I was going to like make a joke and be like, well, Larry Bird's 33 and I was from Boston. So no, but then you yeah, it's 3 numbers. And then, so look, I used to be a management consultant, and the joke there is like, everything is 3s. Like there's 3 reasons why, there's 3 strategies. There's 3, like, cause that's all people can remember.
Right.
So there's probably a piece of me that like starts doing that subconsciously, but yeah, 3 numbers. It could have been 4, I guess, but because it's about the 4 quarters of a relationship. Like there's 2 people in it, and I say people, it could be 2 groups, but either way, like 2 entities, if you will, in the relationship, and each of those people, each of those things, like we each have half within us. We're split in half again, and this is where the 4 quarters come from. There's 2 halves that are split in half. This is the hardest math I'm going to ask anyone to do, but like a lot of people are like, this is terrible. You can't do all these numbers. But so, all right, there's the whole split in half. You and me, we're each split in half.
No, I actually get it.
I figured you would. Some people are like, I don't do math.
I'll put it to you like this. I'll see if I'm on track with it. So there's me and my wife. Mm-hmm. We have this relationship between us. Mm-hmm. And then each of us has a relationship with the outside world that affects the other half of us that come back.
Yeah.
And that's where the dynamic, because if it's just us, we're good.
Yeah.
We're literally good.
Yeah.
If it's just if you lock she and I, we got all the fruit snacks we need.
You guys have a good relationship. I remember from our past conversations. But that dynamic is each of you is doing one of 2 things inside. You've got your actions, like what your conscious mind is deciding on its own. Oh, I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to say this to her, like regardless of what she is or isn't doing, like that's what I'm about in relation to her. And the other is the reactions. So whatever she's putting out there, it's how you're responding to it. Mm-hmm. And that's the dynamic for all of us. So those are the 2 halves that we each carry. And the thing is, like, you have your actions and reactions. So does she. Or so does whoever it is that's on the other side. 50, the first number, is about each of us having our half. The 75 is our half plus half of them. And the reason why it's half of them is we control our halves. Some people may have trouble with that. Some people may say, oh, but it's hard or whatever. But yes, it may be, but it's still yours. Like you can own yourself. Everyone can generally agree to that. Doesn't make it easy, doesn't make it. But ultimately, like, we do own ourselves.
We do own ourselves. You're absolutely right. Some people don't realize that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's easy. If someone punches you verbally or physically or in any other way, you may respond to them. You will respond to them. How you respond to them is your choice, and that can be really, really hard. And it may not feel like a choice, but that doesn't mean it isn't. And I'm not saying that from a place of judgment. I'm saying that from as much firsthand experience of lashing out and reacting to people as anybody else. I'm human too. But it's all, my half is mine. Good or bad, easy or hard, it's mine. That person's half, and this is the difficult thing for us, that's them. And we've always felt like we don't have control, we don't have power, we don't have influence, we don't have agency over what they're doing to us. How they, well, I didn't have a choice but to respond this way because look at what they did. It's them to us. Like we're receiving the terribleness that is them, the unfairness.
I'm going to take this back to my wife.
Yeah, well, it's not going to apply to your wife because you guys get along too well.
I mean, my wife is a unicorn.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife literally said, this is going to happen. You and I, we are best friends and this is going to happen. I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But she said something, we have these, what would be awkward talks for most people, really awkward talks for most couples in a relationship.
Why?
Because first of all, she says that I went through this severe whore phase before I met her. She's my best friend. So I literally told her everything I was doing.
Yeah. She knows it all.
She knows it all.
Yeah.
And I was, whew. And then she knows some of the backstory and all this stuff. And she says, there's a gene that some men have. She was like, and, you have a bit of that gene. She was like, but here's the thing. you are free. She's like, you're one of the freest guys I know.
Yeah.
And she was like, you could do whatever you want. She's like, I can do whatever I want. That's the problem. People don't realize they're trying to contain somebody so deeply. And sure, there's an expectation of what you would like.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to get past that because we're human.
Yeah.
And the other thing she said, I mean, we talked about like infidelity.
Yeah.
And this was the first time I heard a woman say this. And I know I'm going to catch some flack on this one. She said, we were talking about, we know both sides of various couples in our circle.
Yeah.
So we get both sides of the story.
Yeah.
Quote, unquote. And we were talking about when people come home and they're so guilt-ridden because they've done something wrong and they confess.
Mm-hmm.
And she said what I was thinking. The only time people confess is to forgive their own sins. It's not to make the other person feel better or bring them in or be honest. It's because they're trying to get rid of their own guilt.
Yeah, they're carrying a pain inside.
Yeah.
They want it out. Yeah.
This is when ignorance is bliss comes in. I thought I was interviewing you.
I don't know what's happening anymore, but I'm not really bothered by it. I just want to keep talking.
And with that, that's where a lot of the issues come into play.
Yeah.
We have these expectations in life. And that was another item. I mean, we have these literally deep talks.
See, this is what more relationships need, though, because too many people don't get into it. They don't touch with the real feelings and thoughts and everything that's going on inside of us. And so it stays more surface level in too many pockets.
But, here's the problem with the relationship is because at some point your truth can be painful to your spouse. I mean, it's an absolute truth. If it was objectively looked at, you go, oh, yeah, I don't put the seat down and I spray the whole top. But she says, you don't put the seat in. And I'm like, she's nagging me. No, It's just the truth.
Yeah.
And we don't accept it. We see it as personal attacks. Here, damn it, we did it again. You're interviewing me. But I'm
not actually saying anything, Emmett.
But here's, the thing about it is, I said this in a post some years ago, because when I was going through my divorce, I realized something. There's two kinds of selfishness. There's internal there's this personal selfishness where it's like, I need everything to be about me. And there's a selfishness that you have of love, where I have this selfish need to give you the best of me.
That's not something I think most people would identify. That's really astute. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm going to break it down to you in the most simplest terms. Oh, yeah, it was in my book. It was in my book.
Yeah.
The best way I can show you of that selfishness where I have this love to give you is typically a mother to a child.
Yep.
Sometimes it can be from one person to another, and it's usually a female to a male. When they say, I love you so much that you got to go do what you have to do. I don't want it really, but I'm going to let you go. If you're meant to be, it'll be all right. You'll be back. That's rare.
Yeah.
So how did you come to this pivot in your life after Do a Day? What was the moment that said, oh, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really have a choice. So my marriage was not doing well. Like a lot of people, what you guys have is pretty unique. And what we have is pretty common that, look, for those who don't know the Do a Day story, my wife almost died in 2011. And that led to our life being defined in very specific ways. Mm-hmm. So while I had changed from how I frankly wasn't standing by her well enough in that toughest time that she faced, I wasn't cheating on her. I wasn't like doing anything overtly horrible, but I wasn't supporting her like she needed me to, because I was having my own stuff. And so I would, lash out and be I wasn't blaming her for it, but I was certainly not just being there for her and hearing her and validating her. I was like, you have to fight harder. You need to stop Googling every symptom because of course you have everything, all of it.
That was me.
And was that you?
Yeah, it was me.
It could have been me.
No, it was me.
So she's carrying that forward. And I mean, to her, like I kicked her when she was at her lowest, which is not a good thing to do. And so she's carrying that pain and carrying it hard. And so everything I do, and add to that, her whole backstory as a human being, because we all have our histories. And so if I say something, am I her father right now? Am I, so that's all in her interpretation of me. And, I was fine. I was perfect. I'm a great guy. There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, you got it bad right now. You're a white male.
It's all her. No, but on my end, I had fallen into the role of, chronically ill wife. I have to do everything. So I was like, I worked there. Yeah. I didn't live in that house. I worked there. And adding to it, I actually had a job out of state. So I was commuting to Atlanta every week for 3 years.
Wow.
Which allowed me to write and promote a book because I was alone 5 days a week.
Right.
But it's exhausting. And the 2 days I was home, I was cooking and cleaning and running errands for the 7 days of a 3-person household. Like I was just going. And so it was even more of the, like, I work there. I don't have time for anyone because I literally have like 24 hours of actual awake time, if that, to get all this stuff done so my family can survive while I'm gone trying to earn money.
Right.
It was a rough life. Like it was a rough existence for us. And there's an aspect of me being away that was necessary. Cause it broke a little bit of the day to day. And we knew that. Yeah, we knew that. Like that people were like, oh, it must be so hard. And I was like, yeah. And inside I'm like, and we needed it. Like we needed to get away from each other a bit.
But those are the things that people don't talk about.
I've never talked about this, Emmett.
I mean, but
I'm literally like until this second, I have not shared this publicly.
But this is what a lot of people don't talk about. They talk about being together. Mm-hmm. But someone said this to me a long time. You need time for you and your woman.
Yeah.
If this was a long time ago, so that was the options. You need time for you and your woman. You need time for you and your friends.
Yeah.
You need your time for all of them. But most importantly, you need time for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many people, because our dynamic has changed in the last 40 years, that people don't have that time for themselves anymore. People don't even have hobbies. I didn't even realize this till I went to Austria and I saw how Europeans live. I was like, oh, we got it wrong.
Different. Yeah, it's so different. And they do vacation.
Right.
For us, vacation's like, I got all these chores. I got to get a doctor's appointment. Like, it's all staycation.
Right.
Some people do it right, but not enough.
Right. Yeah. But, like you said, this is important that you actually say this, because there are many men who feel that way right now who don't have a voice, whether they be black, white, green, or blue, because we are in this feminine age. The empowerment of women is coming up. And, I'm bringing in some of my female constituents to ask them questions. And I said, you know what? You guys are going to do the exact same thing, and I see it, that you claim men are guilty of. You're going to ostracize them. And here's the thing. We understand you need your time for you, but you have to be inclusionary. So you got to take the diversity principle. Diversity without inclusion
is worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And inclusion is actually the hard part.
Yes.
Like diversity can be hard, but there are ways to solve for that, but it's completely pointless if you don't include.
So what was the point when you said to yourself, oh, snap, it's not where it should be.
Yeah.
This is where it needs to be.
Yeah.
This is what I got to do.
Well, so I had known, this is going to sound really egotistical, and that's kind of the point. I had known that, like, I knew this wasn't right. I knew this wasn't working. And she did too, but in her view, it was 100% me. And in my view, it was 100% both of us, but probably a little bit more her, because that's human nature, right?
Yeah.
And so I started to talk to a counselor, because I'm like, look, I need someone to voice this to and to work through this stuff. And for me, my expectation was about coping mechanisms, because I can't fix her. Because she's just always going to look at me this way. It's never going to be any better. And I'm not giving up on this, because I'm a child of divorce and my kid deserves better.
Yep.
But he also doesn't deserve for us to be, the way. And it wasn't like, in front of him, it wasn't always good. He definitely saw some things he shouldn't, but it wasn't what I grew up with. It just wasn't like sweet and lovey and whatever. Like, it wasn't the ideal. I just need to be able to cope better with it. That's what I was going for. And through that process, she's like, she's starting to tell me about these principles from Buddhism. And I'm like, oh, it's really interesting. And she's like, you should read this book. And I pick up the book and I'm like, this is funny, as an author, I'm not a big reader. I love reading, but I just don't get started on it, because I get so much going on.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I'm always on a plane, so I can read on the plane. Yeah. Except I'll fall asleep in like 3 seconds, because I'm so dog tired all the time.
And you're programmed to fall asleep on a plane.
Oh, and I never, like, I'm a terrible sleeper and I don't sleep well on planes, but if I pick up a book, I'm out, like, forget it. And my neck is ruined, because I'm like, and I'm, snoring on the person next to me. But so I pick up this book and I can't put it down. It's the most amazing thing I've ever read. And I say that to this day. I'm reading a book right now that someone has described the same way to me. And so I'm willing to take that challenge. So I'm either about to have a new number one or a close number two. But book called Open Heart, Clear Mind. It's by this Buddhist monk, Thubten Chodron. It's incredible. Like, it's incredible. It's just beautiful. And she presents these Buddhist principles in such a clear and enlightening and easy way. She talks about it like a buffet. Like, you can take what you want and you can come back for more of the same or for other things later. You do not have to take everything now. So, like, for me, karma is actually really tough for me to swallow. Wow. I don't know that I don't, and it's not that I'm against it. It's not that I insist it's not real. It's just, for whatever reason, like, it doesn't sit with me the way the other parts of the philosophy do. And what I found is, like, as I'm reading about it, part of me is fighting it. And so what that tells me is I'm not ready to have that on my plate right now. I'm not. And now with time, I'm more understanding of what it's getting at. But I don't fully take it in the way I did some of the other things. And I'm okay with that. I'm not like, the old me would have been like, you got to study it harder, or like lashing out against it and throwing it all away. And neither of those is right. What's right is to continue to learn and grow. And if the time is right for me to have that enlightenment and it resonates with me, fantastic. And if it doesn't, fantastic.
But you know what? Here's how that plays out.
Yeah.
So, because I've had this incarnation several times in my life where I go to start something and I fail miserably. Or I go and read something and I'm like, this is garbage. Mm-hmm. Then many moons later, all of a sudden, everything clicks and this piece comes back. And I go, oh, I get it now. Yeah. Because just because you digested now doesn't mean that it's going to multiply and fortify at that same moment. Just like you eat food, it's not immediate.
Yeah.
You take it in and you might store it away as some fat, and then you go run a marathon like 5 months later, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, how come I'm not tired? Because
it's that thing I ate back then.
It's that thing I ate back then.
Yeah. You got a musician in you, so I was going to say it's the favorite musician new album problem. You know how many times I've gotten an album from like one of my favorites and I'm like, yeah, it's not as good as their last one. I don't really know. Fast forward 2 months, I'm like, yeah, this latest album's incredible. Like it's genius.
I actually had that moment this week.
Oh yeah?
I bought an album from Chick Corea in 2004. I was like, this is garbage.
That was a long time, yeah.
This is garbage. And I went to Spotify and just played, and I was listening to all these, and I was like, this new one, I was like, I remember that was garbage. And I played, and I was like, oh my God.
It's just ahead of its time.
I was like, literally like, Chick Corea since his electric band sends chills up my spine because he is so on point. And I was like, how did I miss this? What was
15 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So you didn't say how, the karma thing, but we've wrapped around in this conversation. I've talked about things that karmically have come into play just today, just in our conversation.
Yeah. It's so specifically with karma, it's the way it intertwines with reincarnation. I do get karma, but they're dependent on each other, and reincarnation is a tougher one for me to get just yet. But I will say that was the first of, 8 books that I read in research for this one. Because what happened is one led to the next, to the next, to the next. And I was hungry for more and more. And there were 3 specific things I kept coming back to that really hit me. That they were hitting me in the context of these tough relationships. And those are the things that I took, that I latched onto, that I talk about in the book. 3, again, there we go. Man, you're smart. Like I don't even know it at the time. And then, so it's 3 core ideas. One is happiness seeking. The second is interdependence. And the third is impermanence. And those just kept resonating with me. Happiness seeking was the most powerful. And that's like, I was maybe, a third of the way into the book when my wife and I had a particularly bad, and that's a tough word, but particularly bad fight. And it was like, I'm only home on the weekend, and it was the whole weekend. And, I got to get up at 2 a.m. to get to my flight the next day. And it's just like, it's terrible. And, it's just a stalemate. It's like a complete lockout. There's no love. It's just like anger, and like no one can say anything. And normally I'm not good with her like dropping some little nasty comment as I'm walking away. Like I got to turn around and come back. Or like a lot of it is like, I'll say something trying to be helpful because I'm a fixer is what I do. And she'll take it as a judgment on her, or I'm trying to control her, or say she's incapable or whatever. And then I'm really hurt because I'm trying to do something nice and I'm being treated as if I'm terrible. So it's not just, like if I was trying to be a jerk and you called me out for it, yeah, I might react, but at least like, yeah, well, you're on the right, you might have the wrong kind of jerk, but like you got me. And people don't always like being caught, but here I am, like, I'm literally putting my heart into caring for you. And you're so insistent that that's all a lie. And it's a scam to fool you for me to be terrible. And it's like, I don't think this way. So it's like the mischaracterization. I'm being put in a box that I feel I don't belong in. And that like gets to my soul. So that's the place I'm reacting from. But you know what? Like happiness seeking hit me in the midst of this. And I just realized like, what's her happiness? So the idea is like all of us ultimately just seeks our happiness. It's not that we just seek to hurt each other. Now we might be confused and we might not even be in touch at a conscious level with what our happiness is. So we could just be lashing out like someone who is abused, who is abusive. It's not that their happiness is like they enjoy abusing people. They are hurting so much and they need something to take that away. And these moments where they inflict pain on someone else gives them a dopamine hit. And so that brings them a bit of happiness. It's like me with food as a kid. I kept reaching out for that food because I was anxious and scared. And for a moment, food was really helpful. And then it was gone and I had to do it again. I thought the food was bringing me happiness. It wasn't.
No.
So I just had to keep going for it. And that's why, they keep abusing. They keep hitting the bottle. They keep whatever. But it's not that they woke up that morning and like, oh, the thing I want most in life is just for them to be hurting. It's even if they're saying that, that's not what's really going on inside. And so the whole idea of happiness seeking is to recognize, look, we are all operating in this place of seeking happiness. Even that person who seems to be so terrible for you, towards you, So can you try to understand what their happiness may be? Do you stand in the way of it? Are they confused about how to achieve it? And can you help them get there? Or can you at least not feel like this is just an attack on you and that's their only reason for existing? I use this getting cut off in traffic example because it's tangible and it's like with Do a Day, I use weight loss because it's really tangible. You can understand it. You got this many pounds to lose. It's too much. Traffic's it. Anyone who's heard me on multiple shows, I'm sorry, you got to hear the traffic one again. But it's a really, really good one. When you get in traffic outside Detroit.
Outside, yeah. Ooh.
My God, the people people say Boston drivers are bad drivers. I've not been doing 80 to 90 miles per hour with someone literally I can see the letters Bosch on their windshield wipers because they're so close. You guys.
Chicago's worse.
Yeah, I only take the L in Chicago, so I wouldn't know. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Anyway,
and I'm from Detroit. That's why we're
you get cut off into this guy who's on my tail today. He didn't get on the highway being like, I'm in a rental Corolla. It's a lovely vehicle. He's not like, where's that gray Corolla? I got to find that and ride its tail. That's what I want. No, he's trying to get somewhere just like me. And he just wants to get there fast and he knows the roads and whatever. And so that's what he wants to do. It has nothing to do with me as much as it may, when I start we start yelling at them and we give them a dirty look. Whatever it is, like they're going to hear you as you're screaming at them, or maybe one of your fingers goes up and it's not, it's not the thumbs up. It's a different one, more central. Why? Because you feel wronged by them. It has nothing to do with you. They don't even know who you are. But yet we take it as this person's doing this to me. No, they're not. They're doing this for themselves. You just happen to be in the way.
Yep.
And so it's if you can feel that about it and recognize you're trying to get somewhere too, you guys are the same. Their methods, maybe you don't agree with their methods, but it's not about you. It helps you feel less attacked. And if you're less attacked, you have less of a reason to start defending and attacking back. And so what you're starting to do is create a different dynamic. And that's the other pieces come in then. Interdependency is, interdependence is, we're all connected to each other. And so I'm not good or bad in and of myself. I might be good with you right now and someone else thinks I'm bad. Or maybe, 2 minutes from now, we're going to be arguing and then I'm not good. Or that's why husbands and wives, madly in love and then at each other's throats. Brothers and sisters,
And there's another thing too, because I was going to bring this up when we were talking about relationships, because on an earlier podcast, I saw this woman, a TED Talk. I think it was around the time I started to know you. And she talked about sexless marriage. So if you've been married, everybody goes through a dry spot for some reason or another. You're going to. If you say you haven't, lies. Mm-hmm. Anyway, she said something that was really poignant that I always knew. I just didn't know that it had a chemical related to it. So I said, if a relationship, if your girlfriend-boyfriend phase can really be still going on about 18 to 24 months later, you're pretty much golden.
Yeah.
If, especially if you if you start to see in that time, the stuff that you really don't resonate with.
Yeah.
There's a chemical that wears off. It's really high when you find someone that you like, and then it tapers off, just like it has a shelf life. It's called phenylethylamine. Which is called, the acronym is P, PEA.
Okay.
And it wears off over time. And sometimes you can rekindle that. If you go away from your loved one or someone for a while, sometimes it's a long while.
Yeah. It's not 5 days in Atlanta a week.
No, that P can come back.
Yeah.
We've all had this. If you're over a certain age, you've thought about that old flame that you all of a sudden you were infatuated with again.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then you go back and you're like, and it lasts a little while and then it wears off again.
Yeah.
Except it wears off faster now because the shelf life's half of what it was.
Yeah. Hopefully you know some things.
But I'm going to digress because I have something else for you. You talked about 3, right?
Yeah.
So it's, if you're in a relationship and it's a male-female relationship, She has her 3. You have your 3, right?
Which 3?
The 3 things you're talking about with TED Talk. 3 simple numbers can resolve.
Oh, 50, 75, 100. Well, that's
where I'm going.
Yeah.
So do you know what 50, 75, 100 in numerology means?
No.
The number
No
9.
idea. Oh, 9's a special number in math.
Yes, they add up to 18.
Yeah.
8 plus 1
to 9.
Which is a divine number. So this book's going to be awesome.
All right. All right. Next time someone pushes back on me about the title, because people we were talking about LinkedIn before.
Yeah.
I'm connected to some people who are like marketing gurus, like, oh, the title, Bryan, you got to call it like relationships suck. Or I'm like, no, that's just doesn't resonate with me. I'll give it like, that's going to sell better. No question. It's much more provocative, but that's not me.
So now you can go.
But now I got somebody to come back on that.
Now you go, it's divine.
Yeah. I can't, it's not my choice anymore.
And you didn't even know it.
Me. Yeah.
It came out.
Or
divine.
did I? Did I really though? Yeah, maybe.
But
well, look, I'm talking about like Buddhism and stuff. It's all about enlightenment.
So everything we've been talking about comes down to your book, which you can pre-order, which is 50, 75, 100. The 50, 75, 100 solution.
Solution. Yeah. It's a solution.
And if you've gotten it from, when I introduced everything and you went and looked at the book, you would understand what he was talking about in the split.
Yeah.
Just looking at the cover.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs a graphic, doesn't it?
Once you see the graphic, it's like,
you get it.
I gotcha.
2 people, each is split in half.
And then they have shadows.
They do. Yeah. Do the shadows mean something to you? Because I need to know what they mean now. Because you get this much better than I do. Tell me.
That's really your subconscious. That's the subconscious you. That's the you that nobody sees.
Yeah. There's another shadow in some of our relationships. So I put out on Facebook, I was like, here are the relationship situations I'm talking about. What others do you want to hear about? And someone said adult sibling relationships. Ooh. Specifically adult siblings. And what I realized in working through those is there's a shadow of 2 children there and what their dynamic was. And it's like, how much is that still a part of today? Because we've got, 30, 40, 50, 20, whatever the number is, years where there was a dynamic of these 2 very different people that have gone through a lot now and maybe changed dramatically. And we're reacting to those things, even though those people aren't in the room anymore. It's the same thing with parents, Yeah, so the shadows, it can be a lot of things. It can be a shadow within us of ourselves. It can be a shadow of the other person. Maybe those 2 shadows are having a fight and we're just standing there watching and then reacting to it.
Maybe
not.
We're so fractal.
Yeah.
We're literally fractal. And, lately I've been saying on the podcast, yesterday is gone. So it literally doesn't exist. It's just a memory. And that's what kind of molded you into what you are.
Yeah.
The future is not here. As a matter of fact, it's gone. So it's an evolving thing. The only thing that you really have tangible is the present.
Yeah.
I've had some awakenings, and literally I asked God for my wife. I was like, look, man, I'm sick of this. There's just too many women in my life. I need one. And here is how detailed it was. I did a Job. I was like, I'm going to test you. I'm going to lay it out for you. I want a woman that meets this criteria, meets this criteria, meets this criteria, because in my mind, she didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for my best friend is right there, and she meets all these criteria, but there was this baggage hanging right there on that. But she was it. And she's like, I'm it. And I'm like, move, somebody's coming.
Yeah.
Until one day she says, this is going to happen. And I sat back and thought, I was like, whoa, she is that quest that I asked for. So sometimes we have to step back, and the selfishness is probably what, actually, we're just talking as boys, not really. We're just talking. All we need is a symbiotic beer between us, even though I'm 250 miles away from you. We just really have to take inventory because we always see it from self.
Yeah.
It's the only real people that I can understand that see it outside of self is moms. And the reason they see it outside their self, because that's a detached part of her physical being.
Yeah.
So, of course, that empathy can be there. Because I had a problem with my second daughter. I said to a elder friend of mine, I was like, man, this woman acts like that baby is just hers. And he said, my brother, it is hers.
Yeah.
You just help her get the process going. She pulled it of her blood.
Yeah.
I was like, huh. After that, it was a whole different, it took me a while.
Yeah, it's a different perspective.
It's a different perspective.
You're super enlightened to see that.
And I was like, that is.
But it's offensive before having that enlightenment. It's really offensive when you hear that.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah,
bump that. I'm the dude.
Yeah.
But you also have to realize something too, is we are, because of how the wobble on our earth spins, we're entering into a new age, a 2,500 year cycle. We're leaving the age of Pisces and we're going into the Aquarian age, like that song says, which is a very feminine age. That's why you see this movement, this force coming, and it's dominated by the feminine. Mm-hmm. All that stuff, all the war and stuff that we did, it's just the last stand.
Yeah.
You see the feminization of everything, really. And when there's change, there's confusion. Mm-hmm. And don't we seem like we're in a confused time now? So,
yeah,
my friend, you're just figuring it out, man. And this is a great thing that you're doing for the constituency.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's great for you and I to talk like this is because, A, we're men. Men don't talk like this.
Yeah.
We don't get to have, because we know there's a high probability of judgment, if not covert judgment.
Yeah.
Where, oh yeah, me and Emmett were talking, and then you go like, he having some issues, man. That guy over there, covert.
Yeah.
Or over, like, man, suck it up.
Yeah. It's hard to have these conversations in the flesh. Like, as they're saying that, I'm thinking like all these people that have had conversations of like this. Like, I connect to Aaron Hawkins, right? Like, this is a guy who I would have these kinds of conversations with. Aaron and I met in person once. Yeah. And I consider him one of the closest people in my life because every week we do this. But I don't know if it's the screen or if it's like there's a context or a preconceived notion of why we're connecting. And it's to have a conversation like this. Could you meet a guy at a bar and talk about, I don't drink, so I don't even know.
Yes.
But like, you could.
No, I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes. There's a certain context for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think like on the day to day, it's extremely rare certainly for men. And I'm sure for some women and for those in between to have a conversation like this. There's something that it's not happening real time in person enough.
It's easier to have it with a stranger than with someone who knows you because you have nothing to lose. When we don't know each other's baggage and we can't call BS on each other because we don't know whether it is or isn't. As they said in Fight Club, it's a single serving friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can give up the ghost to the single serving friend because as soon as you get off this airplane, you'll never see them again.
Yeah.
You can tell them about all the things. I'm sure you've had a couple of those conversations. This person just gave up the ghost and you've never seen them again.
Yeah.
And it's,
for sure.
It's anonymity.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of anonymity that comes with not breathing the same air or exchanging the same energy of air as being in proximity.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
because I get it all the time. I interview a lot of women, and off air,
Yeah.
women have told me some stuff. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I'm not like, why are you telling me? I feel very grateful that a woman would actually say some of the really uncomfortable things that they probably have not told anyone in their physical life about, but it's something they need to share. They just need to find someone who they can trust to just hold it. Hey, I'm going to give you this. It's just like, I'm from Detroit, from back in the day in the 80s. It's just like the dope guy going, here, hold this bag for me.
And then,
I'm going to run down the block. I might be back in a couple of days, but I know you're going to have my bag when I get back.
Yeah. The second idea, this interdependence, I think that's a big piece of what we're talking about right now. Because it's all about like when the situation changes, the people change, the interaction change, the dynamic changes. So it's like, well, we're not sharing the same air, or the camera's on or the camera's off. Or like, we don't, we're just on this flight together for 4 hours or whatever, and then that's it. Our relationship is very different from all the others I have. So maybe I'm changed because I perceive myself to be in a different setting. And so then the interaction's different. That's kind of the whole point, is like, if you can change something about the way you're interacting with people, even the same people you had a difficult interaction with, you can get to a different place. And that's why, like, people who go on vacation together, or like, couples therapists, big things like, you got to have date night, because you got to break out of this, like the roles you all are in every single day in that house. Or that's why like leadership teams will go on an offsite to do like their team dynamic stuff or their big strategic planning, because you got to break that daily cycle of this setting, all the pressures that are right there in front of you. You have to take yourselves out of that. You have to change something about the way we're depending on each other, the way we're interconnected, to be able to affect change in our dynamic, or we're going to fall back into the same patterns. Yeah. And you can do that. And that's, so, when people are like, well, she's always going to be this way to me. My boss is always going to be a jerk. My this is always going to be a that. Like, whatever the situation is, okay, we'll change something. Do the happiness seeking idea. Get to what they're trying to get, think about what they're trying to get to, and then see if you can actually be a help to that instead of being perceived as a hindrance, and interact with them from that place. Give them a different version of you to react to. So you own your half, you can influence half of them, that reaction part, because it's based on what you're doing. So give them something different to react to. And that's the 75. Like 3/4 of the relationship now is in your control or influence. You can affect change, just change that dynamic. And the last one, the impermanence, is like, dude, everything changes constantly. That's hope. That to me is like, oh, there's hope that this can change. So it's not always going to be this way forever, because nothing is. So like, have some hope is worth the work, right?
Yeah. Going back to my wife, who's quite a bit younger than I am, but she was so nice. You remember the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
You remember the Good Witch?
Yeah, Glenda.
Yeah. It's kind of like my wife. She's just like, she comes in on a bubble. I've seen her upset, like highly upset, like, like that thing once.
With you?
No.
Or in general? Just
in general. That bad energy when you come into the room. I was like, woo, I'm out. Yeah. She was like, why are you going somewhere? I was like, whoa. Oh, no. She was like, can anybody have a bad day? I'm like, ooh. That was the only time I saw that happen. Had nothing to do with me, but I've seen like, she has this energy about her, and I had to figure out what it was. And I fought it for a while. But then I realized, through these talks that we have, her soul is old. She's been through it. And she said something so poignant to me relatively early in our relationship, because I was carrying baggage. From my previous relationship. When you got angry, you closed off hard and just went into dormant mode. and I went into dormant mode. And I had all these frustrations, and I couldn't put them into words because I was so protective of putting them into dormant mode. Yeah. And she says, "Stop. Whatever it is you got to say, take your time. Find the words. Put what you're feeling into a word, 2 words, then form a sentence." Mm-hmm. And I was like, and it started to come out. And I was like, whoa, it's that simple?
Yeah.
So what you're actually what you're saying is a lot of what I've been through, which is someone can be in a low place, but that doesn't mean you have to match their vibration. You can start humming at a very high vibration, and as long as you stay there, they have one of 2 choices. They can either, and you have to stay there. You have to stay in that high elevation at the 100 or the 75. And if they're down at 25 or 50, they have one of 2 choices. They can either go and find a vibration that they match to and want to stay there, or, and this may take a long time, is they will gradually go from 25 to 26.1.
Yeah. Keep creeping up.
30.09.
Yeah.
And at some point, they may not hit your 100, but they may hit 75.
Yeah. You know, the thing about that sentiment is that energy is contagious, both of yours. And so that's why your advice about you got to go high and stay high, you have to have that willingness to keep doing it, because it can and will take time, but one of you is going to end up getting the other one sick, so to speak, because it's contagious. And we all get there. Like, you talk to someone who's all negative Nelly, like and this is terrible. And you come away being like, oh my God, it's the way, like you're exhausted and down. And then you talk to other people, it's like you're having a tough day, and they're not rude or boisterous about it, but they're just good, and they're understanding, and they're looking at the bright side without being irrational about it. And you're like, oh yeah, that, like, it starts to bring you up. Or they're like, oh, I was in a tough place. This is what I'm doing now. This has really helped, and I'm really feeling good about this. And I'm looking forward to that. And it lightens the mood, and it pulls you with it. So are you going to be that buoy, or are you the anchor? One of you is going to win.
Yeah. And I actually have that from today. I got up at 2:00 in the morning.
I'm sorry.
Started my day.
Yeah.
I taught 20 people all day.
Yeah.
One of my items in my class, I'm the oldest guy in the class. If I'm standing, you have to stand. And, you had some characters.
Yeah.
And I was bone tired. And I was driving home. And the word discipline came into my mind, because I haven't been to the gym. I'm doing a 5x5. And I'm like, just get there. Just get there. All right, just walk in the door. All right, just take your shoes off and get your green Chuck Taylors on. All right, now put the shorts on. Yeah, I know. I put my shoes on before I put my shorts on. I do that frequently.
Hey, if they're loose shorts, it's fine.
Yeah, now walk out there, get on the row machine. Oh, somebody's on the row machine. Crap. Someone's on the Smith machine. Okay, we're going to go over to the leg press machine, because it's the same as a squat.
Yeah.
All right, I got that done. Someone's off the Smith machine now. Now I can go finish my routine. 47 minutes later, honey, what's for dinner?
Yep.
I got it done.
Yeah.
And then an hour after that, I'm talking to you.
I didn't realize you're pushing 24 hours now. I've been up since 2 also, but you're Central Time. I don't know which is worse.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is about this is, sometimes you just have to look at what you have to look at, the higher vibration, have some discipline about it.
Yep.
Stay there. Stay there. Think of sunlight. Think of all happy things and stay there. Because particularly if you're with a person, there's something about them that you like. There's something about them that you like. And all you got to do is find that one thing. It may be, you know what? I like that one strand of hair, how it falls out of place. It is so perfect. And leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for a rebuttal. Leave. Let it fester. Don't ask for anything. That's the big problem too, man. People ask for too much instead of giving.
Yeah.
Here, let me just give it to you. Ding. Falchuk, my man. You know, we're almost at the hour mark here. So the numbers.
Yes.
That you can pre-order where?
5075100.com/pre-order. And it's the numbers 5075100.com.
When are you just going to do an audiobook?
It's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Audible to say yes to it. It's in the final stage of review. So the book comes out November 19th. The Audible should come through before then. Good. They found one issue in it that I cleaned up.
Yeah, they just charged me the $159 for my year.
So I didn't realize when I did Do a Day and I did the audiobook, I didn't realize I can't set the price. Oh, so it's like Audible sets pricing on the books. The authors have nothing to do with it. So I was telling people, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to do it for free. Like if you buy the print, or, it's like $14.99, or unless you have the subscription, which is a subscription's a good deal, but it's a lot.
It is.
So I was like, I don't want to charge that much for the book, because my goal is, it's not about making money. It's about getting the ideas in as many hands as possible. So like the Kindle is 99 cents through pre-order time, because I just want people to have it. Like I'll charge more for it later, but if I can get more people to have it right now, awesome. I don't care about the money side of it. Like I'm not going to make $1 bajillion and retire off of this book. That's not. You
never know.
Well, a bajillion's not a real number, so I know I'm not going to make that.
It isn't in some kid's mind.
I can make a cajillion, like that's or Brazilian.
A gigazillion.
What's that?
A gigazillion.
No, I don't know. That's pushing it. We'll see. I don't know. It's still a few more weeks to go on the pre-sales. It's about impact. So right. I don't really care about the dollars. Yeah.
Who's the perfect customer for this book?
This is a bad answer, but everyone. So not children. So you have to be older than a child.
Older than a children.
Here's the deal. It's not like people. We're talking a lot about spouses, right, or significant others. This isn't a relationship book just in that sense, and not just romantic relationships. It's you're going to work situations, like I said, adult siblings, parents, child, whichever side of that equation you're on, or both, because everybody's a child. You may not all be a parent, but we're all children at some point. Even if you don't know your parents, there's still something that's affecting you in there. Mm-hmm. So it's worth thinking about. So we all have relationships, and that's why the bad marketing answer is it applies to everybody, but it does, because we all have relationships, and even if they're good, they could still be better. We could still understand in a different way. So generally, that's the answer. But the reality is, I think right here, right now, it's for someone who has a relationship that is a problem for them, and they don't know what to do anymore, like I was at. And it wasn't just this one with my wife. That Monday, we had the fight on the weekend. Monday, I go to work. I've got one of my peers is trying to get me fired, like really bad. And so that's in the book. So this was all hitting me at once. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this book. Like these principles I'm learning, I'm just going to try it now, because what do I have to lose? Everything's falling apart anyway. It worked.
Awesome.
So yeah, if you're in the midst of something right now, it's a good time to read it. And it's not long. It's not complicated. You should be able to take it in and start doing something with it right away.
When you come to Chicago?
Hopefully really soon. Like literally there may be something brewing. So I'll give you a heads up. I thought you were still in Detroit. So like I sent you a text this morning. I'm like, hey man, I'm in Detroit. Maybe we'll grab dinner or something.
And I'm like,
it didn't actually sound like that over text.
And I'm in like Des Plaines, Illinois, next to O'Hare.
Actually, will talk later, but that may be specifically happening, like not Chicago, but like right by O'Hare.
That's what I'm saying, like the general area. So, this is the longest podcast I've had in a while, and it's only because it's you. But really, actually, this is really important because it's two men talking candidly about life.
Yeah.
That's why it's important. And I want everybody to know who listens to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast that life is fractal. One piece is really a mirror of another piece in a different time.
Yeah.
That's the only difference you are from one moment to another. It's time. I said it. Moment. And we are all energy. I was listening to some stuff Einstein and Niels Bohr were talking about today.
Yeah.
And life is dynamic. You can't plan it. And I've said this to people. And this goes really into what we were talking about. Sometimes you are going to get where you are at the end of your rope. And I'm borrowing this from an old DJ that's from Detroit. And he says, if you're at the end of your rope and you haven't fallen off, there's a little bit of rope there. Tie a knot and keep hanging. And he left it there. And I'm adding, so that after you take this rest, you can pull yourself up and start again. Till next time, love you all.